Hello, everyone. I'm Jan Angel, your 26th District State Representative. Thank you for joining me on Legislative Update. We've now passed the halfway mark of the 60-day session, which is scheduled to adjourn on March 11th. For the past several days, I've been working on the House floor considering bills that were previously approved by House committees. I'm pleased to report that 4 of my bills have gained unanimous approval in the House and have now been sent to the Senate. They include House Bill 2408, which would require local governments considering a rezone change to notify the affected property owners. House Bill 2886 would provide an update to a law we passed last year modifying the date that requires multi-family residential units to have carbon monoxide alarms by January 2013. We passed my House Bill 2490, which would update our state statutes to replace the term mental retardation with the term intellectual disabilities. And my House Joint Memorial 4024, which asks Congress to make the same respectful language changes in federal law by passing a bill known as Rosa's Law, also passed our floor. All of these bills must still be considered now by the Senate. While we've seen some good legislation moving on the House floor, we've also fought against bad legislation. And that includes House Bill 1653. This is a measure that purports to clarify the integration of Shoreline Management Act policies with the Growth Management Act. Under the bill, local jurisdictions must determine that each project results in no net loss of ecological functions. How can local jurisdictions enforce this? And how do the citizens know what this even means to their property? I fought against this measure on the House floor because it isn't about protecting shorelines, it's about government control. The problem here is when a bad bill comes forward and a bunch of agencies jump in trying to make a bad bill better, this is what happens, and it does not make good policy. We are actually going over and around a Supreme Court ruling and with no public process. There has been no public hearing. It didn't go through a committee recently to where any of the new statements added on here could be discussed. So I urge a strong no vote. This is bad for all shoreline owners, and it's bad policy. I urge a no vote. The process of this bill was totally wrong. House Bill 1653 was resurrected from last session, came to the floor, was gutted, and new language was attached. The process totally excluded the public. If you own any property on any shoreline, whether it's along a river, pond, stream, or beach, you had no input. The measure passed the House 58-39 and is now in the Senate. I urge you to read this measure, House Bill 1653, and contact our senator and others and ask them to stop this measure. I'm very concerned that the Senate and the House have voted to overturn Initiative 960. That's the initiative which voters passed just 2 years ago that requires the legislature to have a 2/3 majority approval to raise your taxes. Suspension of this measure now means the Democrats only need a simple majority to increase taxes. More than 75 tax and fee bills have been introduced to the House, including one to boost the sales tax by 1%. Overturning the will of the people is wrong. Our forefathers fought for our right to vote, yet the legislature is paying no attention to the voters' will, and that is wrong. I'm concerned of how tax increases would affect families who have lost their jobs and those who have reduced incomes. I am voting against these measures. I always appreciate your input, your calls, your many emails to my office, so keep them coming. I want to thank you again for joining me today on Legislative Update. I'm State Representative Jan Angel.